everyone. We're here today first to reflect on the conversation last week. We introduced the idea of journaling as a way to stay focused on our wellness, and we offered some topics for you to reflect on, and we did that on our Facebook page as well. That was our first.
Yeah, thanks to those of you that liked it and checked it out.
Yeah, and today what we're going to talk about is what can happen when you feel that you're sort of falling off of your alignment. You're feeling a little scattered, you're not feeling grounded, your routines have sort of become disheveled, what that might look like and how we can get back to a place where we feel really good.
Yeah, I think it's a big topic, and as you were just talking about that, so many different things came into my mind in terms of balance, in terms of routine, and how much routine do we want. But you just talked about taking a little bit of a break. So you're doing that now, right?
I am taking a break. I'm taking a break in a lot of ways, but the way I was thinking was just with weightlifting. So I do lift weights, and I do that pretty regularly. Recently, I've been able to really shrink it down and just do a little bit, but more frequently. So I decided that this week I just needed a rest, and I was just not going to do it at all, and just be active in other ways, like taking walks, maybe doing some yoga, but really just allowing my body that time to rest and rejuvenate.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and I think I've been trying to do some of that same type of thing, more so with scheduling, as opposed to not necessarily workout routines, but I have modified my workout routines to make it more doable in the time that I have. But even just having that balance of, knowing when you don't need the routine, or when your body is saying, I need a break. And that's something new to me. And I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, how, I functioned for so many years just ignoring anything that my body said. It was kind of, and now I'm trying to pay attention a little bit more. And what I'm realizing is I don't necessarily have to follow this rigid routine anymore. So do you think that's part of it, is kind of that, paying attention to yourself while you want a routine, but you also have to, like an ebb and a flow type of thing?
It is. I think that it's really hard when we get into routines sometimes to let them go, because we think that we are never going to get back to where we were, or releasing it is going to somehow change it, and that sort of brings about this fear of the unknown and what's going to happen. And while all that makes lots of sense, on the flip side, it is kind of like that mental break too. I know for me, it is my muscles and my body wants to rest, but sometimes you just need that mental break to do other things, and to not be so rigid and not be so structured, and allow yourself that time so that when you do come back to it, you really feel refreshed and you feel rejuvenated. It's sort of like a vacation, but you're not really going anywhere. That's how I like to think of it. I've just been trying to do other things every time that maybe I would normally do a workout in the morning. I'm filling that time with something else, right? So, it gives you the opportunity to, I think, just do those things that maybe you've let go.
Yeah. And just an example, I think, that I can share about being so focused on the routine. Probably a year and a half or 2 years ago, I had this 45-minute routine that I was doing in the mornings before work. And I remember this one day where it was like this amazing realization to me, which is going to sound ridiculous because it's going to be obvious to everyone else. But I was kind of like, well, I don't have 45 minutes, but I can just do part of it. And that had never occurred to me prior to that particular day. It was do it or you failed kind of thing that I was telling myself. So I learned to kind of back up from that and not, of course we all want to try to do our best, right? But what I had to recognize is that even some of it can be is better than doing nothing. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it's that all or nothing mentality. It's that black and white thinking. I know I've fallen into it many, many times in my life too. It's so hard. And the other side of that, while you were talking, is I was just thinking like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen if I don't do my routine, right? Like, let's say for a month I can't lift weights. Let's say I get hurt. You know? I mean, exactly. It can happen, right? Like, what's going to happen? I mean, nothing. Right. I'm going to be here ready to lift weights when I'm done, or maybe I'll have a realization and not want to do it so much, or maybe I'll want to change paths. I think sometimes when we open up, the possibility of more comes flooding in, things that we never even thought of.
Right.
So,
and I think it's funny as we're talking about this and how we've both come a long way in this area, because if we were talking 5 years ago, we were both, I feel like, very deep into structure, routine, striving more, even 3 years ago, perhaps.
I'm going to say 3 months. I think it was a really short time ago. Maybe not 3 months, but
maybe a little longer.
Maybe a little longer, but it wasn't all that long ago. So I think that, that was part of my other area of sort of simplifying and giving myself that mental break is, I'm letting things come, I'm letting things go, or at least I'm trying to. Right?
I think that's the key. Is that we're trying every day, but it's these constant reminders with the meditation, with the journaling,
right?
And then having that time and really practicing being present. I feel like I've lived a significant portion of my life in the future, or in some cases in the past, and I'm sure that's not unlike anyone else. We get caught up in thinking about things, revisiting things, or planning, preparing, thinking about what's next, and we forget about the moment that's right in front of us. And that has been a real challenge for me, but something that I'm actively working on, because when I've felt it, it's an amazing, peaceful feeling. And then it'll go, right? I'm like, oh, I've got to get back to that. So it is definitely a process. And I just being kind to her. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think some of those practices, like I've seen you doing it, making things. So at your house the other day, I saw you making the shelf, the wind chimes. I know when I'm stitching, it's very methodical, and it really brings you into that present. I mean, if I'm not paying attention when I'm stitching, I'm definitely getting a needle in the finger.
That's a great point.
So it's really forcing me to be more present, which is why I think I'm currently drawn to it. If we're really paying attention, I think that sometimes the things that we need the most are just kind of coming to us.
And I think that comes with the quieting, right? And I've really been, a little bit before work, after work, but mostly I'd say on the weekends, really trying to just free my schedule for a chunk of time, just to be, and just to kind of, sit and watch the clouds, or work on a project, or, just be. Very, very simple.
Well, I remember when you said that. It's so hard. I remember when you said that to me, and what really was only, maybe a month or two ago. It was not that long ago. And I was kind of contemplating just be. And I really thought about it. And I was like, I don't do that. I don't do that enough. I might do that every now and then, but it's so rare that, I don't know.
But we've been so, what's the word? We've been so... just caught up in society's expectations.
Conditioning,
that's the word. We've been so conditioned to just keep going and doing more. And now, we have all this technology so that we can be more efficient and we can get more done in the day. And it's just, it's reminding me of a book I read a while back, and I had forgotten about it, called Go Wild, I believe it is, by John Rady. He's one of the authors. And he talks about the evolution of the brain and how and I think there's many other books that I've read that allude to this, but the evolution of the brain has not caught up by any means to the evolution of society. And that what we're asking ourselves to do on a regular basis really is completely disconnected from the human biology that the body we're living in and the brain that we're asking it to do. So, we get that fatigue. I just used this phrase today, like, I can't think anymore. I have decision fatigue. Like, I can't even
I totally think that happens. Absolutely. I mean, I was listening to a meditation, I think it was yesterday. Yeah. And he said that many people fall asleep in meditation because their brains are mentally so exhausted from thinking that all they want to do is sleep.
Yeah.
And that makes complete sense to me. I mean, even if you're getting 7 or 8 hours a night, which is pretty normal, if your mind is in constant racing mode and you are making decisions all day long,
the next thing.
Yeah, it's so important just to be. I think it really is. It's really hard, but I think even just carving out 10 minutes, if you can in a day, would be beneficial.
Yeah, 10 minutes. I think that's good.
And I think you crave it, right? Like after you do it, I know for me, like I'm craving just sitting there doing my stitching, right? Because it's so calming and I don't have to think and I don't have to do anything but stitch. And then suddenly I have something and I'm feeling happy that I have something that I've made.
Right.
So it's like this kind of flowing, great feeling, constant while I'm doing it.
And it's a break. It's like you're giving your brain this kind of rejuvenation, almost like a rest and a reset.
Yeah. And I think anyone can do these practices. I mean, you are not a woodworker, but you were making the shelf. I'm not. I don't know much about stitching at all.
I'm making a pretty cool shelf.
You are. That's what I mean. It's amazing. And the wind chimes.
Yeah, exactly. I found some shells and some bones in the woods, and next thing you know, I've got wind chimes. So
you don't have to have any special skills to do these things.
I definitely don't have a lot of skills in those areas.
Yeah, I mean, you saw my stitching. It's not the greatest, but
well, we're trying.
It is what it is, right?
I think the other thing this is making me think about is the cognitive benefits of this, right? As being a novice and things.
Right.
That came from, I think, the blue zones. If anyone hasn't, if you don't know about the blue zones, it's definitely something to look into.
Right.
But that show we were watching about the blue zones and, recognizing that when you're keeping yourself actively engaged in doing different things, doesn't mean physical labor, just the act of creating in your own way is helping you to become a novice, which is building your brain muscle. It's regenerating those cells. And it's not, we think we want to get into the routine, but then that routine leads to cognitive decline. And some of these areas where people are living to 100 or more, they don't have the dementia. They don't have that cognitive decline. And, I don't feel like we're there yet, but certainly it pops into my mind, the older I get. So then that's another benefit that we can think about.
Yeah, I think we can have that as a whole other conversation.
Oh, it could. Yeah, maybe we should talk about blue zones.
Yeah, Sardinia.
I love it. I love it.
Hopefully one day, we'll say.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I think we've wrapped up for today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Anymore. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.